again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alumni Chats, a weekly podcast featuring alumni from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism here at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon. I'm the host of the podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Antwan Taylor from the class of 2010. Welcome to the show, Antwan, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Buzz. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So we're going to get into, you are a fellow podcaster, and we're going to get into all of that. But let's just tell everybody where you're at, what's going on in your life, and then we'll kind of flesh that out a little bit and talk about what's going on a little in greater detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm living in Chicago, still in Chicago. And right now, basically, like you said, I'm a podcaster. I have two podcasts. My primary one is Mogul Motivation. I have 302 episodes with that. Nice. I started in 2016. Then I have another podcast titled Sociology. It's a play off the word sociology. And it's basically, it pertains to Chicago culture and, all things related to Chicago pretty much. I launched that one in January of this year. I also have a book, and most notably, I'm a professional photographer. That's really, that's like the bread and butter of my business at the moment. I've been doing real estate photography and family photography for about 5 years now. So that's basically, it seems like a bunch of different things, but it all makes sense. It all makes sense, and it comes together for me, and it works. So that's where I'm at right now.
Do you ever sleep?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a lot of late nights that I have, 11:30, 12 midnight. But I love naps. I'm not a stranger to naps. I would definitely take a nap during the day if I need to, or if my body's telling me, hey, you need to sit down. So I try to get as much sleep as possible in between doing all of that.
So if I remember, you are from the South Side.
Yeah.
And tell me what it was like growing up, and when did you kind of get the bug to be involved with what you're doing in terms of being a photographer or, being somebody that talks to other people? When did that sort of hit you?
Yeah. So I'm definitely from the South Side. Markham, to be specific, is like right outside of Chicago, but it's all the same. And I guess I kind of got it early on. Like, I always been a social kid, like I used to get in trouble in elementary school a lot for talking so much, things like that. So I kind of guess it was natural. And the older I got, obviously, the more I evolved with it. And, I just became a socialite. The photography actually happened by accident, to be honest. I really had no plans on being a photographer. It just kind of happened because after I left WIU, just as a time jump, people kept asking me, did I take pictures? And I was like, no, not really. And it got so common and so often that people asked me about pictures. I was like, well, maybe I need to teach myself. So I taught myself on YouTube. YouTube, I watched so many tutorials and vlogs about photography on YouTube, and the rest history. And that was about 2010, 2011, right when I left WIU. And that's how my photography journey began.
Interesting. So when you came to WIU, I'm always interested in finding out when somebody started, how did they get involved? What was the first thing you remember doing when you got to Salee Hall?
When I first got to Salee Hall, the first person I saw was Pat Scout. I just want to mention that. He was the very first person I saw when I walked in Salee Hall. But when I first got there, the very first thing I wanted to inquire about was hosting a radio show. That was 88.3 The Dog. Yep. That was the very first thing I inquired about. And I think like the spots were filled for that semester or something, so I had to wait. And once I got on the radio, that was probably the most enjoyable thing in Salee Hall and in the broadcasting department that I can remember. And it actually prepared me for podcasting, just talking on the radio, having an audience to talk to, and, just talk about different topics that people might be interested in, playing music. That was very fun. And it was new to me because my high school didn't have anything like that, radio shows, or we really didn't have a media department at all, my high school. So the broadcasting department at Western was definitely a breath of fresh air, because it was like, oh, I can be myself here. I can, I can play around. I can learn different things here. And it kind of was like broadcasting chose me, because, like I said, I was a socialite, so I didn't really, you know, grow up saying, oh, I wanted to go into broadcast. It was literally just like the best fit for me. And when I saw that Western had that as a major, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like, I didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Got to Sallee Hall, saw Pat Stout. I saw the radio station. I saw the TV station there. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. And the rest is history.
So what, do you remember anything about your show? Do you remember the type of music that you were playing? Did you try to craft that into, did you see that you were, had the ability to, did you like to talk more than you like to play the music? Or
I like to talk more. Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely like to talk more. It was kind of like, even though it wasn't talk radio,
Yeah.
it's kind of like I wanted it to be talk radio. But yeah, we play, R&B, hip hop, rap, things like that. But yeah, it's kind of like, it got to a point where, me and my co-hosts, we were like talking a little bit more than playing music. And it's like some of our listeners, they look forward to us talking more than the actual music. They would tune in just to hear us talk instead of listening to the music. That was like a huge thing with the shows that I did down there.
So what other kind of things did you get involved with at WIU? I think you mentioned before we started taping that you were in a fraternity.
Buzz?
Yeah. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I don't know. I think it froze. Okay.
My question was, what kind of other things did you get involved with? I think before we started recording, you mentioned that you're in a fraternity, and what kind of things did you enjoy doing?
Oh yeah, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We did a lot of programs on campus. We did like a lot of Black History Month programs. We did a lot of food drives, things like that. We were involved with going to, like, we had to go to Peoria a lot to do programs, to host programs with like a chapter in Peoria for the youth in Peoria, underprivileged children, things like that. Like I said, we did food drives there. So it was very fun. It opened up a whole nother world for me, because not only did we do things on campus, but it kind of allowed us to go off campus and, travel and do things. Because up until Western Illinois, I really didn't travel much. The only place I had been up until that point, I think, was like maybe Tennessee and St. Louis. And that was for like family reasons. But, the fraternity allowed me to travel more and do more things, go places like New Orleans, Michigan, things like that. So that was fun. I was also involved in a poetry group there called Cultural Expressions, where we did like different poetry events once a month. That was pretty fun. And also I traveled with that. We went to Philadelphia. That was the first time I was on a plane, actually. So I never flew on a plane until I went to Western Illinois University and got involved in different student organizations there. So Western Illinois and the broadcasting department definitely changed my life for the better in a lot of ways.
That's a great story. And because I think when you get on into life and you've been gone for over 10 years now, you get an idea of all the other outside activities and how that shapes you and makes you into the person that you are and helps you grow. Even as you said, working at the radio station helped you as a podcaster, but I think these other activities probably helped you grow as an individual, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I definitely grew as an individual big time. And I'm grateful for it.
So, any other memories that you have? You mentioned Pat Stout of just things, classes, other classmates maybe that you want to mention that you remember being spending time with it in Sallee Hall?
I like your class a lot, the production class. I really did like that. And I actually think I still got some of the projects buried somewhere. We had those little disc and the little DV cam tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy your class. I enjoy Roger Sadler's broadcast and law class. I actually still got that book. I know for a fact I have that book still to this day. I still have it, and I actually looked at it a few times, like when I was going over contracts or certain stuff. I'm like, let me check this book to see if I'm doing this right. But I definitely enjoyed the your class, Roger Sadler's class. Pat Stout was always a joy to talk to. You know, he was just very humble, easygoing guy. I did enjoy the broadcasting banquet. That was fun. That we did at the end of the year. That was very fun. But it was just, my broadcasting class, not just because it was my major, but it was seriously like my favorite classes. Salih Hall was like my second home down there. Like I can walk around the entire building with my eyes closed, but like if I go into a hall like Horben, I get lost. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing in here. Like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know. Like, I think I had 2 classes in Horben my entire time at Western. But it was a good time though. I definitely enjoyed, those late nights in Salih editing in those editing bays, trying to get projects done. It'd be like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, just pushing it to the limit. It was definitely fun.
Great. After graduation, as we said in 2010, you go back home and you decide to, as you kind of mentioned here, to start your own business. Tell us how all that got started.
Can you repeat that, Buzz? My bad.
Sure.
I think it froze again.
Yeah, no problem. So when you went back home after graduation, how did you start your business, which is called, I think, True Photography?
Yeah, True Stories Media. Yeah, True Photography is like a DBA. Yeah. So I actually, after I graduated Western, I applied to Columbia because I wanted to get into the Masters of Film program there, and I didn't get in. So I waited a year, and I applied again in 2011. And I didn't get in again. So I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. So I kind of just had to sit back and think about what I wanted to do. And I knew what I wanted to do, which was like something creative. Like I thought I wanted to do film at the time, but the reality is I just really wanted to be creative and create things on my own terms. So that's really how I started my business. I'm like, well, Columbia won't let me in. I guess I'll just do it my own way. So I started my business, and then, like I referenced earlier in the podcast, I was watching YouTube blogs and vlogs to learn how to do photography. So I'm basically just looking at YouTube and learning everything as I go. I'm doing video projects for people. I'm doing photography for people, and I'm just learning. And it was a slow start. Like I was still working at the time, so I still had a job, but it was a slow start. But I think around 2015 is when the tide started to turn. So from 2011 to 2015, it was like slow. But after that, things really started to pick up slowly but surely. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like I wasn't ready for this, because it was so slow. I didn't think things would really change. And I knew I didn't really want to do news. And I know I was in the broadcasting department, but I knew I didn't want to do news. I wanted to do something more creative. So that really wasn't an option for me to, go work at a news station or anything like that. But once the business started to pick up as far as photography and video clientele, it really changed everything. And I think had I got into Columbia when I applied, I think I still would have been an entrepreneur, but I don't think it would have happened as fast or the way that it did, in the manner that it did, because my mind was still focused on, I need to be in a program to learn, where you really can learn everything on your own with the right guidance and mentorship, of course. But it was an interesting time. Once I left Western, it was a very interesting time.
So let's talk about your 2 podcasts. Now, one would have been just enough to occupy your time, but the fact that you have 2 different ones that allow you as you talk about this, let's first talk about the Mogul and what kind of content that you include on that podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Mogul Motivation is simply within its name is all about motivation. I had started the podcast in 2016, and I was going through another low period, not just in business, but life in general. And so it's kind of like I was speaking to myself. I'm like, okay, I got to give myself a pep talk. So I just really started recording motivational messages to myself. And I just put it on SoundCloud. So I just put it on SoundCloud. And then a few of my friends started listening. Then they started sharing it. And then, I just kept doing it. So that was January 2016. And I remember it vividly because I think I told you this. Like my bank account was actually in the negative when I started that podcast. It was negative $483.15. I'll never forget that. I actually still have the screenshot to motivate myself. So I had to push through that, and I had to continue to motivate myself while motivating others because everybody used to look at me as a motivational person anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just started putting it on audio form. And, that was January 2016. And I've been doing them every week since then, literally. And now we're at 302 episodes. There are some episodes where I interview other entrepreneurs about their journey, things like that. I had interviewed a man who owned about 10 McDonald's in Chicago at one point at the height of his career. And he grew up on a farm and his parents died at a very early age. So it's just motivational stories like that I feel like is very important for people to hear and digest. So whatever your goals are, whether it's you want to be in the news, you want to be an anchor, you want to be a cameraman, or whatever it is, program director, you just got to stay motivated to get to where you want to be. And that's what Mogul Motivation is all about. Sociology is the new one. And it's a more laid back, more fun. Not saying Mogul Motivation isn't fun, but it's niche content. It's literally about motivating you. Sociology, I actually got the idea, Buzz, when I was at Western. For this type of platform. And it took over 10 years for me to actually start it. At the time, I called it Chicagoology. It's still a play on Chicago and science, but the whole premise of sociology is basically about literally the culture of Chicago. We have a rich culture here in Chicago. A lot of people, including myself, will argue we have the best culture in the country, greater than, New York and LA and all of that. So it's literally about everything. It's about Chicago pizza. Why is deep dish classified as Chicago pizza and not thin crust? It's about why is it taboo to put ketchup on your hot dog in Chicago? It's about, the taste of Chicago. It's about, just anything Chicago related. That's what that podcast is about. It's pretty fun, pretty laid back. Right now we have about 27 episodes for that one. So it's still young, but it's growing. And, it's just fun. I definitely do that one every week as well. We took a couple breaks, but Sociology is the new one on the block. Mogul Motivation is the one that's aging like fine wine, and it's fun. I love it. I had to really just sit back and appreciate it for what it is and not look at it as just simply a tool to make money or, whatever. It's literally a passion of mine. That's why I guess I have two. And I'm going to stop at two. I'm not going to grow any more than that. That's enough right now.
So in the sociology one, do you also deal with music? Do you deal with dress? I mean, the reason I think it's so fascinating because, in the media and minorities class, we talked about representation of culture and how important it is to have it out there.
Yeah, we do. We have some episodes about that. It's literally, that's why it's like a niche topic, but it's at the same time so wide too, because Chicago is so wide. So anything relative to Chicago, we're going to talk about. Like we have did some episodes on music. We have did some episodes on clothing, and we're going to have more about that. And it's going to continue to grow. I actually think, were you the one that did the blacks and white TV class? That was you?
That was me.
I have that book too. I still have that book too. Yeah. I still have that book too. We talked about some of that so far. Like, again, we only have like 27 episodes, so we haven't got too deep with content yet. But we have talked about, some things like that. Yeah, I still got that book too. I should have brought them in here just to show everybody. Yeah,
that's good to know.
I kept a lot of things from that era.
Well, every once in a while you wonder, are students actually reading the book? And you actually have kept the books.
Yeah, I kept them.
even brighter thoughts about our students. So
Yeah, I
I'm very
kept them.
happy to hear that.
Yeah, because it's valuable information. Books are books. I learned to understand that books are a very valuable resource the older I've gotten. And I'm like, I need to keep this, not just give them away. Like the books and classes I didn't care about, again, like stuff in Horriban Hall, things like that. Yeah, I got rid of those. But as it pertained to my passion and my major, I kept most of the books that I felt were relevant and that I might need in the future.
So let's talk about the third project that you've kind of gotten into, which is fiction writing, which I think is also a very cool kind of thing. So talk about what inspired you to do that.
Uh-oh, think it froze again. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So let's talk about the third part of your kind of production, which is fiction writing. How did you get inspired to get into fiction writing?
Yeah, so with that, again, I think I mentioned I was in cultural expressions at Western. So I wrote poems a lot, short stories a lot. So I guess that was kind of like, it wasn't my introduction, but that's like when I really honed in on my creativity with it. And I always wanted to write a book, but I just never really did it. Kind of like like I said, with the Sociology podcast. It's like I always had these ideas, but I never executed them. So it got to a point where around 2016, probably around the same time I started the Mogul Motivation podcast, I'm like, I'm going to write a book. So I just started writing it, slowly but surely. And I eventually finished it in 2018, and that's when I published it. It's titled Board Games, and it's on Amazon, actually. And I'm in the process of writing a sequel for that now, which should be done in September. So,
Antwan, it's amazing that you, again, find time to fill up your days with activities. It's
it's not enough hours in a day.
Yeah, well, it gets back into what you've been talking about, this self-motivation. Where do you think all this comes from? Did you learn it from a family member? Is it spirit driven? Where does it all come from?
I think it would probably be more so spirit driven, to be honest. I didn't really have any entrepreneurs in my family. I guess the closest I would have would be my grandmother. She sold candy and things like that when I was growing up. And, she had a very lucrative operation. I want to say business, but, it wasn't an actual business, but, it was a business. A lot of her residents in her neighborhood and her building would like really come to her and, purchase a lot of candy and peanuts and things like that from her. So I guess that was the closest example of entrepreneurship I had in my family. But to your point, I think it would be spirit driven. It's just kind of like, I just feel like, we only have one life. We only have one life on this earth. And it comes a time where I was like, I don't really want to have any regrets. I mean, as humans, we're going to have some regrets here and there, small things. But, if I have an idea of something that I really want to do, I'm just like, well, I got to do it. Why not? Why continue to worry about what other people are going to think? Or, even when I wrote the book, I didn't care if people read it or not. I just wanted to do it, and so I guess it's just like, I want to execute because I know for a fact when I was at Western, it was a lot of times I did slack. I know that for a fact. I was a good student, but I feel like I could have been a better student if I executed more. So I guess that's a regret I have, not applying myself more at Western. I could have been on the dean's list every semester if I really applied myself, and I didn't. I was lazy. I did enough to get by, but so I look at examples like that and I'm like, wow, so I'm only getting older. So let me just apply myself now and make the dean's list in my life, right. with the different ideas I have. So I definitely think it's spirit driven. Absolutely.
Yeah. But you show that you learned and you continue to grow and evolve. And I think that's what I'm so proud to see your successes, to see your growth in these areas, because
thank you.
As you said, you no matter what, you still had this motivation to keep going and be inspired to do what you're doing. I think that's terrific. Let's talk about the last thing, which is the recommendations you might have for students. You've kind of mentioned, you have this realization you probably could have done better, but what kind of messages would you have for students involved in broadcasting and journalism today?
Yeah, definitely just appreciate the moment, appreciate your time there. Don't take it for granted. The fact that you have resources, equipment, all of these things available to you, and you don't really have to pay for it, per se. You don't have to come out of pocket. I think it's invaluable. Just appreciate your time there. Appreciate individuals like yourself, who have the knowledge and the wisdom that you can pass on to them. Just don't take it for granted. That's the biggest recommendation I could give them. I didn't take it for granted in the grand scheme, but like I said, I can look back and look at certain situations where I didn't appreciate it as much as I could have. And especially now, it's 2021. The technology is better, the cameras are better, yeah, definitely appreciate it and learn as much as possible, because knowledge is, everybody has talent. I feel like everybody has talent in certain things, but I think when you have talent and knowledge, I think that can really take you to the next level. And if you really pay attention to what you're learning and what you're reading and what you're trying to do, like, all those, I remember, we had Motion 3 back then. I didn't really care about graphics back then. So like, I didn't really pay that much attention as much attention as I should have. But if I did, I would have knew a little bit more when I started my business, and I could have did more things and offered more services. But, that's something I had to learn the hard way over time. So if they pay more attention to things like that, even if it's not something that they think they might be interested in, it will still benefit them in the future one way or another. So definitely appreciate and don't take it for granted your time at Western Illinois and in Salee Hall.
Some great advice there, Antwan, and I appreciate it, and I hope to see you in person again sometime soon. It's been too long to not have seen you around campus, so hopefully we'll see you again someday in the future. Did you catch that part?
No, I didn't. What did you say?
I said, hopefully we will be able to see you again in person sometime soon.
Yes.
On campus. It's been too long. Antwan, again, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Buzz. Thank you for having me. It was fun, man. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great time.
And good luck with all your ventures, and try not to overextend yourself too much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not doing nothing else. I'm done. I'm done at this point.
And thanks to all our weekly viewers out there. If you're interested in being on the show, or if you want to recommend somebody, just send me an email. We always like to hear from our alums. We appreciate and want to continue to support all of our alumni out there. And until next week, stay safe, take care, and God bless.